My nickname is Nike. People will kill for me. And then the little innocent Negro children are murdered in cold blood, and then they throw me upon a power line just to symbolize that their soul will never die. And at the rate Baltimore's going, will my nights be next? As blood then splatters upon my Nike checks, mother distraught and under stress, no longer able to see their child because the bullets laid them to rest. Those shots hit his chest. Yeah, he played Grand Theft Auto a lot, but he couldn't find a cheat code for a bulletproof vest, because no, I'm not just a shoe. I stand for Negroes is killing each other. Dead bodies, teddy bears, and crying mothers do something to me. But deep down inside, not even an x-ray can see. I want to scream out because I got something to say. But when we make it positive, they are making negative. Look at the situation with Freddie Gray. But I often look at the kids in my community like LeBron, because when they shoot, they fade away. Kids dressed in black hoodies like KD step back and shoot, and you know they scoring. Shells lifting black souls in the air higher than Air Jordan. No justice, no peace. But my brothers are using each other for human target practice, and we got the nerve to worry about the police. His soul is now gone. His soul is now dead. And we feed him to the beast we call the streets instead. I look a black boy in the eyes and I see the soul of another Trayvon, eating Skittles, drinking the Arnold Palmer. Bullets pierced his chest and label him a goner, but that wouldn't have happened if he had a bulletproof vest as his Under Armour. The paramedics run up and pump, and pump, and pump his chest like a brand new pair of Reeboks. Under the black life ended by just 3 shots by somebody that looked like me. Not no damn cop. A lost soul traveling down a dark road with his dark soul the same color of a hot coal. People will say the generation is messed up, but in actuality, it's the generation before. Knowing we need that hand, but instead of helping, they choose to scorn. They say a wrinkle in time, but in fact, it's the page torn. And then complain when they see all of this blood and gore, but little do they know that child they just saw, devil and God using his soul playing the game of tug of war. But you know what they say, right? My soul is now gone. My soul is now dead. And they then fed me to the beast that they called the streets instead, and you wonder why I then hang from a power line. Thank you. My name is Almighty Rod, AKT7 Rod, and I'm going to welcome up Ricardo.
Thank you, Rod. Appreciate it. Good evening, everybody. My name is Ricardo Neal, and I am a resident in Baltimore, live in Hamilton with my wife and 2 little ones, my Zoe, who's 8, and my Maxwell, who's 5, and they attend Hamilton Elementary Middle School. I just want to make sure that I extend warm wishes to everyone that's listening today. I have the pleasure of co-leading the Boys and Young Men of Color Success Work Group, and to welcome each of you to the Town Hall this afternoon. Dr. Andrea Bundley is my other co-lead, and the work is staffed by James Green. I also want to acknowledge my colleagues on our work group, Shalimar Douglas, Dr. Anthony Pena, Emil Sabor, Dr. Philip Leaf, Sadiq Ali, Dr. Kevin Daniels, Ryan Turner, and Kendall Abu Makim. They have been all phenomenal in planning this work. A bit about the Baltimore Children's Cabinet. The cabinet was brought together to have city agencies, state agencies, and external partners to align and focus programs and investments in Baltimore City's children and youth. That is the broad scope of the Children's Cabinet. Specifically, the Boys and Young Men of Color Success Work Group is really aimed at making sure that boys and young men of color have the resources for what they need. The Town Hall today leverages the lived experience of community members and experts in the field to engage with the cabinets and think about the survey that shows the challenges our young people are experiencing. In terms of our focus today, the challenge that we think about, nearly two-thirds of Black boys in Baltimore enter kindergarten unprepared. And what this means in terms of they're entering kindergarten unprepared, their chances of success in high school and beyond is significantly diminished. In addition to that, we know that young men in Baltimore in 2018, in terms of homicide victims, were young black men. Our actions around some of these challenges, our interest is first, we want to collaborate with Baltimore City Schools in terms of recruiting more young men of color, more male educators to be administrators, to be teachers, to be active in their school, in their public schools. We have been recruiting from all across the city. I have been in touch with folks coming in from Baltimore, from Philadelphia, folks who are interested in being a part of this community. And the work group has made this a priority. The second priority is to reduce recidivism for young people involved in the juvenile justice system, and working with community-based organizations and city agencies to come up with viable solutions so that we do not repeat the pattern. The group has been working since 2019, thinking about what we can do as a collective to improve life outcomes in this city. I'm excited this afternoon for you to meet some of our panelists who are talking about solutions, talking about things that they have been doing in Baltimore. My colleague, James Green, will take over for me. He will introduce the panelists. There will be a series of discussion throughout the next 15 minutes or so. And panels will have, our guests will have a chance to interact and ask questions. Again, welcome. We're excited that you're here. And we are looking forward to continue to work. Please get involved. This is critical for our community. James, I'm turning it over to you, sir.
Ricardo, thank you so much, one, for your leadership as a co-lead, but also just in the work that you do with We Will All Rise. And I'm appreciative to have you as a partner in thought also, but in action. And so grateful to have you a part of this work. Also want to thank Dr. Bunley, as you mentioned, the other co-lead. Want to thank Director Tisha Edwards of the Mayor's Office of Children and Family Success, which leads the staffing for the Baltimore Children's Cabinet, and also could not go without acknowledging our mayor, Mayor Brandon Scott, who is leading the work for our young people as it relates to the plan for our city. Have to acknowledge him in this. So what I'd like to do is take the opportunity to introduce our panelists, and then we can get to what you all came here for, because I'm really, really excited. There's a dynamic group of individuals who are with us tonight who aren't just celebrities, but these are individuals who do the work on a daily basis in the community. The first is someone who I greatly admire, someone who I know firsthand is doing the work to help change other people's lives, but because he first changed his own life. And he believes that our young people are our future. And I see that time that he puts in with our young people. So I just wanted to acknowledge Brother Stokey. Stokey, you there?
I'm here, brother. Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate you for jumping on, man. Big bro, you know I love you.
Love you
and
more.
I hear you, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the work you're doing, man, and continue to do so. You're my inspiration. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you. Also, you know, as well, bring another one of our brothers in here. Lord Tone, you on here, man? You got to come off of mute for me, man. There you go.
Yeah. Appreciate you, bro. Thanks for having me on here as always, man. You know I'm supporting. I'm behind you, whatever you're doing. Putting in the real work.
Yes, and they gotta hear your voice, because one of the things that I've seen you do more specifically is right now, I mean, you've always been leading young people to the right pathway, right? But right now I see you on this real estate game, and what you're doing with that is just amazing. And I think that it's important. You always talk about economics every time that I speak to you. And I think that it's important for them tonight to hear you speak about what that is and what it means to our young people more specifically, especially our boys and young men of color. So thank you again, man, for being on.
Appreciate you, big bro.
Yeah.
What's up, Stoke?
Stoke Tone said, what's going on?
What's up, Tone? What's up, Tone? You in the way.
Man, I'm trying to make a way. You heard that's it.
All right.
All right. So I also want to acknowledge the brother who opened us up, man. Ra is a young king who won an award for the poem that he introduced us with tonight, that he opened us up with tonight. Ra, Almighty Ra.
What's up, boss? How you feeling?
I appreciate you, man. That poem, every time, dude, it gets me. Like it'd be like right here every time, and I don't have to do no faking, no stunting, man. But
I appreciate you.
Those words, it's so important, man, because I think our young people are chasing something, and I think that, you know, tonight we can give them something to aspire to. So I appreciate you being here, man.
Yeah, man. It's all about giving them hope, man.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate
Speaking
it.
of giving them hope, man, the best hope dealer that I know on planet Earth is on here with us tonight. Dr. Andre Bunley, are you there, sir? Can you come off mute for me?
Yes, sir. I'm here. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, sir. You know I called you a hope dealer. I hope they know what that means, man.
Yeah, that's about right. I'm just thankful to be here, and just I'm happy to be on here with all of you. A lot of people don't know the history that Stokey and I have. I don't remember living and not knowing him, but he don't remember living and not knowing me, right? And so I'm just so happy to be here with all of you, and we got to get all hands on deck. No black man or any man of commitment can hide in Baltimore. All hands on deck.
Yes, sir. Speaking of, we got to get our men on, but one of the things that I have to acknowledge is that one of the most powerful people using that power for good in our city is Joni Hollyfield and Heart Smiles. Joni, you there?
I'm here. What's up? Thank you so much for having me today.
I appreciate you, Joni. Joni said, listen, I'm going to be in New York. I'm going to be at the film festival with some of my young people. I had to take them up there. She said, but look, I'm jumping on. I'm going to find myself somewhere. So I don't know what ledge you got your phone on, but I just want you guys to know what the commitment looks like when we love our young people and when they're dedicated to we're dedicated to being in their lives. So, Joni, I appreciate you for being on. You on mute. Okay. D. Watkins, I think you should be logged on by now too. You on here with me, big bro?
Yo, what's up? What's up? What's
up? How you feeling, King?
Hey, man, just happy to be around so many amazing people. Thank you for including me. I'm inspired by the whole group. Young man, you ripped the poem, you tore it apart. It was fire.
Man, I gotta agree. I think, like I said, every time Rod does that poem, man, it's crazy. But you and I had a conversation the other day, and I talked to you about how important it is for me to see you opening up doors. And when you get what's for you, you take it back to the village and you show somebody else how to use it. And that example, I think, is so necessary in our community. So that's why I felt that it was so important, man, to have you be part of this conversation today. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you, man. I look up to Stokey just like I look up the tones. You know what I'm saying? That's the game. We each one teach one. It's all love.
Yes, sir. Hey, Stoke, I know that I'm asking you this question. I know Scola was going to try to join us, but I can't see who's in the green room. So if he's not on right now, he can jump on later. That's cool. If he's not going to be on, we know that he's with us in spirit, and I appreciate the fact that he considered. So Stoke, what we got?
You muted, Stoke.
You muted.
You muted, Stoke.
I told him he was on the plane. I don't know if he landed yet, but he definitely was in spirit. If he's not, I'm gonna do my best to carry the load. And I want to give my love. I definitely want to apologize for not giving my love to Doc, who's my big brother, my only big brother, Tone, D.Y., the young lady you mentioned, the young man who did a very, very good job with the poem, speaking life into existence. So I want to thank all these guys, man, for showing up for the cause that's bigger than all of us. So I wanted to say that.
Yes, sir. So let's get started, man. So we're going to start with you, and we're going to cycle back through. We're going to bring everybody in and out. We're going to use a unique kind of strategy today. But so you and I always have conversations about our young people, specifically where they are and the mentality that they have to not just survive, but to thrive in Baltimore, right? So I wanted to ask you more specifically, how does being born, raised, and living in Baltimore shape the mind and behavior of our boys and young men of color as they're coming up? And I know you're gonna tell me I was here this time. There's something different going on. I know you spoke. I know.
No, I mean, but I want to be honest and transparent, man. And every now and then you may hear me use these phrases. When we think about nostalgic and Renaissancean, and I use that because a lot of people who are stuck don't understand what these kids are going through. I myself sometimes get lost in translation, but what I can tell you is that, in order for us to expect a different outcome, we got to create a new moratorium. And I think with these panels and good men like Doc and, and great writers and stuff like, D, who can set positive examples, and young guys like Tone and the young lady, we're on the right path. I think coming up today, they only believe what they see. And unfortunately, we don't show them enough to get them enough influence and positivity on a consistent basis. We might show it in spots, and unfortunately, it has a lot to do with funding and resources and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But for me, growing up in the inner city of Baltimore, I had positive people to look up to. I just chose to make poor decisions. They came back and haunted me. So right now, these kids don't have first options. They have second and third and fourth options will always lead them down the wrong path. So I'm hopeful that as we move forward, we can change the paradigm or at least shift it in a way where these kids start seeing more examples that lead them in the right direction by not making the same excuses guys like myself made. So, I mean, if you ask me tomorrow the same question, I'm going to give you the same answer. We got to show them more in order for us to expect more out of them, And I think, for me personally, guys like myself, I always get metaphors and parables. And I say this from the heart because I mean it, you can't fix something unless you know how it works. You're not going to look on the football field and see a soccer as the head coach. You're going to see somebody who played football. Same thing with basketball. You're going to see a probably ex-basketball player who played basketball leading the team in the right direction. And we need more people who have experience dealing with these children to lead them in the right direction because they're not only going to trust them, they're going to respect and relate to them. And I stick with that.
Man, I respect that so much. I don't know if you just saw at the bottom of the screen, man. Somebody just told you thank you for the opportunities that you're providing for our young people in Baltimore. There it is, TMM Cash Money. Yeah, I got to follow up, right? We oftentimes speak about the resilience of our young men in Baltimore, right? How do you see their resilience?
Me, it's still me on me. Oh,
Yes, sir.
no, I mean, man, honestly, the black human race, specifically these young kids, man, who are so intelligent, they're so thought provoking, they so engaged with technology, and they have what I didn't have, and they have the opportunity that's in front of them. Again, we got to polish it and show them that it's premium. But they so resilient because they don't have any give up in them. A lot of people look at them as making excuses based on the culture or the environment that they're in. But I see these kids thinking outside the box. Again, I see the lower tones. I see how smart and educated and committed he is to change at a young age. So I think that when you think about on a consistent basis what these kids can do, and you collaterally attack it, and you perpetuate a positive narrative, I'm hopeful that these outcomes can be in our favor. So I think, it's an abundance of resilient young men and women, particularly the black youth, who's engaged and wanting to do more if the opportunity continues to present itself.
Man, I agree. I also think that so often a lot of the narrative that is amplified about Baltimore comes from people who aren't here. They aren't living here or they aren't raised here. They don't know what that resilience looks like. And there's a very famous quote that says, "It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, who faces its marred by dust, sweat, and blood, who still strives valiantly," right? And so for me, I feel like oftentimes when I leave out of Baltimore, I'm explaining to people what Baltimore is. But nonetheless, what is it that people should understand about the resilience of Baltimore? Not the negative narrative. And The Wire was a great show. All of the other shows were great. But nonetheless, what do you believe that they should know about the resilient narrative of Baltimore?
I mean, I'm a living example, man. A lot of people, used to always say you got to leave town to see what change look like in Baltimore. And some of my ambitions that have driven me in the right direction, was because of the word you just utilized. I mean, I think, a testament to me, again, is people that were in front of me that gave me opportunities to be hopeful for second chances and change. It happened in Baltimore. It didn't happen in LA. It didn't happen in Atlanta. It didn't happen in New York. It happened in Baltimore. So I think if you achieve or you believe you can achieve, but more importantly, man, I just believe in following winners. We need more winners like Doc who will keep his foot on my neck. He would not let me give up. He didn't want to let me quit. It's times where, things I did, no one else knew I was doing, but Doc, kept me in the game, So at the end of the day, I think, for me, like you say, you got a lot of provocateurs who come in Baltimore, take advantage of opportunities and then leave. I stay here because I love my city and I love the people. And I took so much, so I want to get that much back. But I think the opportunities, as they present themselves, And you got these, diehard kids who's engaged and wanting more for themselves and committed when they see guys like myself who made mistakes, plenty of them, but turned his life around. That's enough for them to say that I was just like them and they can do the same thing with a better outcome. But we got to really show them certain things so they can believe it can happen.
I 100% believe you. It's funny you mentioned Doc because I was getting ready to go to Doc next. Doc, when he was the principal at Walbrook, he used to put mirrors up in the hallway. And Doc, I can't tell this story like you can tell this story, so forgive me if I kind of fumble over it.
But I was at Green Spring Middle.
Yes, sir, at Green Spring Middle. And it was about the young people being able to see themselves. And this very, very powerful tool that he gave them allowed them to adjust their behavior. It allowed them to literally and figuratively see themselves. They got to see their heart, but they also got to see their physical person. In that, right? Because you guys are a reflection of us. As you guys are watching this, comment in the comment section. Let us know what your thoughts are, what it is that you're thinking. But Doc, in 2017, there was a study that found that having at least one Black teacher in elementary school significantly increased a low-income Black student's likelihood of graduating from high school and considering college. For every low-income Black boy, the risk of dropping out was reduced by 39%. What do you believe the presence of Black male teachers, or how do you believe the presence of Black male teachers does, or what does it do to improve our student outcomes?
Right. So thank you for having me. And I'm just going to get right to it. It seems like now it's amazing that I'm the elder sometime in the room now. And it's a great feeling, particularly when I have my little homie with me, who I know got my back. So let me use a story. Let me use a Stokey story, right? I got a lot of them, but let me use one. Before he turned himself in and he knew he was going down, he got to me and he said, this child is at Mount Royal. This one is at Mervo. And he told me about where his children were. He said, I know I'm going down. He said, Doc, I need you to move my children to your school. Right? So I did. I went down to the schools where they were, made certain that they made their way with me, and then other ones where they were, but I did my part. So this whole idea of Black boys needing Black men, particularly, but most importantly, Black men who love them in their lives is really true. Because they believe the Black man in their space. But it's unfortunate if that Black man is powerful, but yet has not shifted all of his cards in the right direction. He has the power to lead many people down the wrong path, like Stokey Carmichael Kennedy. But what I love about him, then when he was little, and then he owned it. And so now as he's working to be a real role model and not a model playing a role, right? It's working because of his power. The Black man has the power to lead those Black children, but people of love have a power to lead our children, our boys. We gotta have that love, and that love has to come across. You have to have that spirit of love. So it's no mistake. I had Green Spring Middle School. I had Walbrook High School, 2,000 students at Walbrook High School, 1,000 students at Green Spring Middle School. You talked about the mirrors, you talked about that, all of those things. But the mirrors was when I went to Green Spring, the suspension rate was through the roof. So when I developed the mirrors helped me lower the suspension rate because I had learned about this thing called internal versus external locus of control, where I had to teach the young people that he made me fight them. No, he didn't make you do anything. because you have the control is inside of you. You allowed him to make you mad. He didn't make you mad. So we had to teach what we call the internal location of control. So when you control yourself, then you're going to be almost like Houdini in your environment, and you're going to control the whole environment, right? It's almost magnet. It's the law of attraction, right? So we have to, and I'm going to close here because I don't want to be long. We know the science works, but we have to have people who are willing to work the science.
Yeah.
Right? And so the science in Baltimore is this. We are now moving forward. You see that all of these men and women you have on this call are very action-oriented people.
Yeah.
We got to have 100% action in Baltimore. And we're going to do a roll call for action. And we're not going to call you out if you're not active, but we're not going to let you play as if you are.
Yeah.
If you active, then get some youngsters under your wing and get the work done. Get the work done. So Baltimore is going to change because of individuals like Tone, who I see now rolling with Stoke and rolling with Uncle T. You got a Stokey who's saying, listen, y'all gonna help me fix Baltimore because I helped break Baltimore.
I got a question for you, Doc. Well, actually, it's a two-part question. Like I'm gonna go to Ra first, and then I'm gonna come back. So when you talked about the presence of Black men, I feel like we have to talk about fatherhood, right? And fatherhood is not always biological. Fatherhood can be a father figure, right? It can be something that is an adoptive, spiritual, or natural relationship. And Ra, I just want you to speak really quickly to how you feel like our community can better support fathers and father figures being engaged in the lives of our Black boys and young men.
Can you explain that question a little bit more?
Absolutely. So Dr. Bunley mentioned a moment ago the importance of Black male role models being present in our schools, right? And you and I partially had a conversation about Black male role models being present and engaged in our schools. We also briefly talked about the need for fathers to be present. And in that process, we talked about the fact that, when Muhammad, is engaged with you, Muhammad isn't your biological father, right? And you may not call him dad in any way, shape, or form. But nonetheless, some of the lessons, some of the gems that you are able to get in that relationship help. You told me that, in fact, it saved your life.
Yeah, so, that definitely saved my life.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, all right, how y'all doing? My name is Ra, aka Almighty Ra, Missouri. I'm part of Keys Development, and Keys Development saved my life because I was at a very low point. I was depressed. I had a father in my life. I have a father in my life, but I was at a rough patch with him. It was very difficult. It was very hard to express emotion. It was a mental and an emotional disconnect because my mother was raising me, and there were certain things that my mother could not teach me that I needed to know, and experience that my mother could not give me that I needed to have. And Muhammad, Abdul, Mr. Keith, Mr. Mason, all the people from Keith Development helped me get that experience. Took me out of Baltimore, helped me pay for rent several different times. They didn't help me. It's good to have a person in your life, especially a male that will really genuinely care and show that they care. Because how am I supposed to trust you if you don't give me any reason to trust you?
I love the fact that you said that, man. I think that I can understand exactly what it is that you're saying. Dr. Bunley was one of those men for me. My relationship with my dad was at a distance. I know I got in trouble because if I came in the house from school and I turned that key and Doc was sitting on my sofa, I knew I messed up. Nonetheless, I feel like our community has to do a better job of giving our fathers and father figures access to our young men. And so, Doc, what do you feel like our community can do specifically to help our fathers and father figures be more engaged in the lives of our boys, whether it's in schools, whether it's DJS related, whether it's whatever they may be? How do we begin to create access?
I think you create access by being getting to action. You know, I got an opportunity to get fathers involved, mothers involved by just working with their young people. See, when love is so transcending, right? When you love somebody else's child because you have that love within you, and they can't keep that to themselves. So the young dude, I got story after story. Again, when you've been around as long as I have doing this work, dude, I saw a dude down at a funeral not long ago. He said, "You don't remember me?" He said, "I met you the first time, Dr. Bunley, because my son was at your school. I was locked up at Hagerstown, and I was going through a real rough patch with my son. And you brought my son to Hagerstown and sat outside the gate while my son visited me." Right? So again, it's just the love. We gotta begin to love our children into good shape. And love is actionable, right? It's like young brothers Roger said with Muhammad and Abdul, he needed that rent. He paid the rent, right? See, love is actionable. It's even scriptural. If you look in the Bible, somewhere along in Matthew around 25, verse 25, 35 to 40, it says, "When I was in jail, you visited me. When I was hungry, you fed me. When I was naked, you clothed me." And all of those things helped me, but all of those things were actionable and observable.
Yes, sir.
We got to have actionable love, right? And then everybody can get in and do something in Baltimore. Everybody can't do everything, right? But everybody can do something.
Yes, sir.
So that's just it for me. It's just like when you find the individuals in the place, let's go to work with them, and you got to build quality, connected relationships. Let me tell you, people who do well, right? And you have a connoisseur, right? You got to have quality, connected relationships. People who have relationships got everything.
Yes, sir.
People that don't have relationships don't have nothing. And so when I look at these so-called leaders in Baltimore, these self-appointed leaders, I don't pay them any attention because you can't appoint yourself to leadership. Leaders are not chosen by themselves. The people choose the leader.
Yeah.
And the people choose the leader based on how they feel what the leader has done with them, not because they consider themselves a leader, just that they just tapped into their humanity.
Yeah.
So that's what it is about. And like I said, at this point, I don't have time. Like I don't have to go gangster and all of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? I put in enough stuff in the earth that I know people got my back. Yes, so sir. I just go out and just tell me, if you ain't with this thing, then don't play with this thing. Yeah. If you mad at me because I say that, then be mad at all of those who got me.
Yeah.
Because I'm with those who got me.
Yeah.
Right? And those that rock with me, we rocking the same message.
Yeah.
We rocking the same energy.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's what it is, man. Baltimore is in its process of getting where it needs to go because we finally got individuals like you have on this line right here, right? Who by their fruits you know them. You don't know them by you know them by what they're producing. You don't know them by just their name alone. You know them by what they're producing. And so, you know, that's where we are. I'm excited, and there's a sense of urgency. I still feel good about myself, right? But I'm acting as if I'm running out of time, right? I can't play defense the way I used to play defense, and I don't run the football the way I used to run the football, right? And I did all of those things well, right? But I'm still strong enough.
Yes, sir.
For this work.
So I just want to, thank you. Somebody said, yes, Dr. Bunley, we must do what we can where we are love in action. Absolutely. Action is truly the only thing that creates change. And inaction does not create change. So Rod, before we shift, I want to come back to you, but I want to ask those of you who are watching live with us to share this link. right now, if you're on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, whatever it may be, to repost it so that people can join in to the live right now. Rod, Doc talks specifically about leadership and how leaders have to be appointed. What are the characteristics of the leader? What kind of things do Black boys in Baltimore, boys of color in Baltimore, need to see to deem somebody a leader? Why would they look at them as an example and want to be like them, or do what it is that they do, or find themselves in what it is that they do?
Cool. Firstly, I want to say thank you, Dr. Bunley, because I remember you from Muhammad's Mosque number 6. You, brother Andrew, brother Isaiah.
Yes,
I
sir.
heard you speak a couple times as well, and you fed a lot of information into me and my brothers that came up there. So I just want to thank you. And
Thank you,
the
man.
characteristics that a young, you're welcome, bro. And the characteristics that a young Black man gonna have to see inside of another man to deem him a leader is like he a stand-up person. He hold his word. If you hold him accountable, he don't bite back that you holding him accountable. He'll act as a father figure. He'll give you information about himself without asking too much for you in favor, which is why I have some of the mentors that I have. That's how the connections that were made with me and why I looked up to some of the people I looked at as leaders. So like it's not necessarily me, like how he said, how Dr. Bunley said, everybody got a different position. I can't specifically say my characteristics of a leader is somebody else's characteristics of a leader. Those are the only things that I can say. A stand-up
Yes, sir.
person, somebody who genuinely has a genuine energy and means what they say. And like, if you hold them accountable, they promise. Like they got you. If they say they got you, they really do got you.
Yeah, I've heard Dr. Bunley say, your word has to be your bond. And he's not the only person that I hear say that. The next two people that I really want to talk to are the same way. People are trying to figure out how Joni has been getting 400 and 500 kids to show up on the live in the middle of the pandemic. Why? Because her word is her bond, and she don't play about our young people. Tone is somebody who was at one point the president of the youth council for Johns Hopkins University, but nonetheless is still the same person who would go out and go to the corners and deal with youth that squeegee, but would deal with dudes on the block. He put out beefs. Now he's showing people how to flip houses and turn that hustle into something positive, and it makes sense. You can't have people trust you that way and your word not be your bond. So, Rod, when you talk about leadership, I believe these next two people that we're going to talk to are that, because I see young people following them. Dr. Bunley always say, if you don't have nobody following you, just taking a walk. Well, I ain't never seen either of these two people just taking a walk. So I want to ask you guys, because right now, so often we see we're learning of individuals and communities, not necessarily big organizations, not necessarily agencies, not necessarily systems. We're learning of individuals and organizations and communities that may not have all of the energy, may not have all of the support necessary, but they're changing lives. They're saving lives. That people are invested in them and willing to follow whatever it is that they say, not because they're doing it for them, but because they're actually doing it for the people. So I would ask you guys, how and why do you believe people are successful? There are individuals in the community who are working with our boys, who are working with our young women, our Black boys, our Black girls. Why are they successful? What are they doing? And I'm not saying that we got to give away all of the secrets, all of the nuggets, but I think that this is the question that's been asked for years. What are people doing that are actually changing lives right now? So Joni or Tone, whichever one of you guys want to start. Joni?
Okay. So thank you so much for having me here. And James, I'm gonna rock with you until my phone dies. And the first thing that I want to say before I give my answer to that question is that I'm here in New York right now with 3 young Black boys born and raised in Baltimore who could easily be on the streets right now, but they have a passion for the art. So we brought them to the Tribeca Film Festival. They aren't here just as participants watching. They are backstage talking to the filmmakers, the producers, the actors, and talking about what they want to do and making connections and building up their social capital. So the first thing is be about what you say you about. In terms of your question, like, we're successful because we're not in it for a check. We're not in it for clout. our motivation is just different, and we are here because we truly care. And our Black boys, they know when you care and when you don't care. Like, it ain't no fooling them. We're successful because we can build the type of relationships that are needed to help our young men find purpose, find value, and to help them discover the value within themselves, and not just think of themselves as the next ninja that's targeted by the police or that the streets are trying to be after. No, we're successful because we truly want to work ourselves out of a job and not allow these disparities to cripple another generation. That's why we're successful.
Man, what you just said was so powerful. You're talking about not crippling another generation. Like, that thought process in itself is fire. Like, I'm kind of lost for words, which is rare, Doc, because I can talk for days. But instead, I'm gonna just go with spirit. Tone, I talk to you all the time about resources that are needed for people to be successful, and how there oftentimes isn't enough support for individuals like a Uncle T, right? For individuals like a Munir Bahar, for individuals like a Antonio Lawtone, more. So I would ask you, what are some of the ways that the community, what are some of the ways that some of these agencies, whoever it is that you could think of, how they could support? Because oftentimes I get frustrated with philanthropies talking about the technical aspect of what people aren't doing, right? And that's a thing. Nonetheless, it's something that's been a thing for a very, very long time. But if the goal is saving lives and people are saving lives, we should be supporting that. So my question to you is, how do we begin to support that, Tone?
Tone.
All right, that's a real good question. And before I even start, I wanna give a thanks to Miss Joni, because Miss Joni was one of the first people to ever give me a shot. And whoever backstage, can y'all change that from youth activists and offer the Flip Project to the youngest in charge? I say that to say because branding is real important, and it's going back to the question you asked me, right? The reason why I'm so adamant about the way people refer to me and how I'm marketed and how I'm pushed out in the public is because I understand how I need to appear and how I want to appear. I'm real intentional about that because I understand my culture and I understand me. So philanthropy organizations and agencies, like, for example, I texted James right before the call and I was like, man, some of these flyers, like, if they want kids to show up, I think James got the resources and the relationships to make something like a party flyer or something like that, that'll make kids pay attention to it first for them to even want to tap in. So philanthropies and organizations got to understand the culture at the bottom. They can't sit up here and say that we support this work or we support y'all doing this, but don't want to give that leeway, that creative control to the people that understand the culture. But again, on the R side, understanding how the top work, right? I'm somebody that got real tired of just trying to work things out with the system and just wanted to just move how I move, but they can better educate people on how the business operates. So, for example, I came into a knowledge and understanding that everything in America run on business. Individuals don't have say-so. It's all about how big the brand is, right? So if you educate people on, okay, when you are an individual, it's real hard for you to get your voice heard. But when you're a brand and you're a business, like down in Fells Point, the businesses, all they had to do was they made one phone call, they pulled together a Zoom call, and they said, look, we're going to stop paying taxes until we get done what we need done. That's something that we don't understand coming from these underprivileged or other certain neighborhoods. We wasn't educated on none of that. So if we say, okay, we got to make these people understand how this whole business thing operate with nonprofit and for-profit, then you will see a smoother transition. Because there's people like Miss Joni that's giving the game, and she got young people like Lord Camry, who's learning how to operate and be a leader, but she gave her the seed to produce something first, and that's real important.
Understood. And I think that when you talk about the seed, right? Like I think about like seeds of promise, right? Or brother Twan, I don't know why. I can't remember his name right now. I'm gonna mess it up, and he gonna text me. Nonetheless, but you got Brother Twan, Caesar Promise. You got the movement team, Mikhail Trice. You got Manir Bahar with Core. You got Stokey with the Stokey Project, Flip Project, Tone. You got Joni with Heart Smiles. You got Keys Development. You got I Am Mentality. You got all of these different programs.
Uncle T.
Uncle T Challenge the Change. Uncle T will go to the gutter to go pull somebody out of there, man, and save their life. And I love him for that. What are some of the programs, and anybody can join in this, what are some of the programs that y'all want to lift up, some of the people that y'all want to lift up who are doing this work? Because I feel like we need to give these people flowers. I feel like we need to encourage the people who are on the call to go learn about these organizations, to donate to these organizations, to be able to sow into these organizations that are doing amazing work. I lifted up a few, but I know I don't know all of them. Nobody knows all of them. So, you got Heart Smiles. Yes, Cameron, you got Heart Smiles for sure. Like I said, you got the Flip Project. You got the Stokey Project. Who else should we lift up, man, that people should know about, that they should go check out, that they should go look into right now, and is doing amazing work?
I got on the call because I wanted to hear all these people. I just ain't heard D. Watkins yet. I hope I get a chance to hear him.
He batting cleanup. He on
okay,
here.
All right. Okay. All right.
Somebody said Muse 360. D, what's Muse 360?
It's ran by a woman named Shireen, and she teaches dance and photography, but she also takes kids from East and West Baltimore to Africa. She took them to Ghana. She took them to the islands and all kinds of places, and it just gives young people a chance to travel and see the world, and that's something that I wanted coming up. But I'm happy to be in the position to support them whenever I can and see them do their thing. So I definitely think that's somebody who we should be looking out for and checking out.
Yeah. I got to lift up Baltimore Brothers. Somebody said My Father's Plan. Dewad. Yes, Dewad is doing some amazing work. My Sister's Keeper with Mama B. Put it in the comments so we can see him. My Sister's Keeper with Mama B. Got to give a shout out to the Dr. Angela Y. Davis Academy. Doing amazing work over there. Who else, guys? I know I'm not the only one who know people.
The Nation of Islam.
The Nation of Islam. No Leader Project. Dads United. Who else I'm missing?
You got EB from Peace. He's doing a lot of good work.
Yeah, you got Peace. You got Sons of Phoenix. Keys Development, also another amazing program. Absolutely.
But James, you got a lot of individuals who don't have organizations, man, who do work on their own without having a foundation or finances behind them. That in my first breath has been doing the real work. They don't have the monetary, positions that some of us have to do what they want to do. They just do it on their own accord, man. And that's to me, that's the mission. These people do the right work. I think the young lady that spoke about it, she spoke about the heart, which is, to me, is intentions. If your intention is not right, you're not going to do the work unless somebody pay you. And I think that get lost in translation as well. But you got a lot of people I know who don't have organizations, who don't have a EIN number, but do the work because they know it's the right thing to do. So sometimes I think we got to go find those individuals and partner with them to create the bigger platform so people can know about them and give them more opportunities to be a part of the solution.
If you are one of those people that Stokey is talking about, please leave your information in the comments so that I can take the opportunity to reach out to you once this live is over. But before we lose time, I want to thank everybody who's on. I want to thank Stokey. I want to thank Tone. I want to thank Joni. I want to thank Rob. I want to thank Doc. I want to thank Ricardo as well. I want to thank D. Watkins specifically again because I had a conversation with his brother, and a lot of people don't know that I watch very quietly and just see what people do from a distance often, and I just respect, again, like I mentioned on the earlier part of the live, how he takes the opportunity to really build with people. And I was watching him on the live, and he said any way that he can use his capital to lift up what's happening in the city of Baltimore, positive, that they can use their social capital to draw attention to it, to build it up, whatever it is. And I was like, man, that's something crazy to say publicly, because people are going to challenge you to that. They're going to hold you accountable to that. But nonetheless, he said it, he doubled down, and he meant it. And so, D, I really just wanted you, if you could, man, just speak to that spirit, the nature of, supporting one another, and why that's important for our boys and young men of color, why that's important for our adult Black males of color, and for you, how do you see us as a community, as a gender, as a race, really growing communally, really supporting each other communally? What does it take to see success communally?
That's a big question, and I thank you, and what I will say is that I know we are nothing without each other, right? I read a lot of African proverbs. I've bought books on them, and from different countries. And one of my favorites is Ethiopian proverb that says, "When spiders unite, they can tie down a lion," right? And that's kind of the mentality that we got to have when we looking at this whole situation and having this idea of change and what it looks like. One thing I can say is that I haven't met everybody on this call in person, but I've been hearing stories about Dr. Bowie since I was a kid. His reputation is impeccable. I know if I hop on the phone, if I need anything, I can call Stokey up and he will make it happen. The same thing with everybody on the phone. Like, I know if I'm doing something, phone pulling up, and that the love is always there. And I think we all do a good job at using our resources and our opportunities to elevate each other. And we got a long way to go. I haven't got a chance to connect with Jody yet, but I'm pretty sure we're going to connect to do something because I'll be in Tribeca this week. So my good friend Devin Allen is in a film about the life of Gordon Parks. And I think he is a person who fits into the category that Stokey was talking about, because no organization, no EIN, no nonprofit, but he put close to 1,000 cameras in the hands of Baltimore City children. Photography saved his life, so he's using photography to save the lives of our young people. Reading and books have changed my life, so I try to use books and reading and what words did for me to change the lives of other people, and that's just something that we do. And it's not it's not like a hobby or something to do for some clout or some posts. It's a lifestyle. The kind of change we want to see is not something that's going to happen in like a couple of months. It's a lifetime worth of work, and we're not even going to see all the results, but it doesn't make us exempt from pushing and making sure the next generation does. And what I wanted to do while I was listening to everybody talk, saying these amazing things, is I wanted to take some of the lessons that I got from elders, and I wanted to deliver them to these young people on the phone, to everybody on the call. Just to, this was part of my journey, and this is coming from jails, coming from people that's not here no more, coming from the grandmas, the aunties, people I met on the road. And when I hear these things, I jot them down. So I kind of want to share them with you. One, someone once told me, opportunities are usually disguised as hard work, so most people don't recognize it. I was also told that regardless of what path I take, every road is paved with roses and thorns. So regardless of what you do in life, you're going to go through something. You're going to have your good times and your bad times. There aren't limitations around you, only within you. Glass is half full. Question everything. I don't care who it's coming from. Me, your teacher, whoever. Question everything. There's nothing wrong with it. It's how you get smarter. Stubbornness is a sign of stupidity. Lift as you climb. That's a classic one. Never. My grandmother used to always say, never look down on a person unless you're pulling them up, and that's it. All things that look the same aren't the same. Just to speak to what Stokey said, everything that look the same is not the same. Some people, like Dr. Bowie said, some people here for us, and some people want to put the mask on and act like it. So we got to watch out for that. Stay away from things that die easy. Dirty water can still put out a fire. That's one of my favorite ones. A lot of people talk about my background and what I've been through, and then in comparison to what I do now. Dirty water can put out a fire. That's a fact. We all deserve a redemption story. And the last one I said, but I'm gonna say it one more time because it's still my favorite, and it's something that I truly believe. When spiders unite, we can tie down a lion. If we all get together and work together and support each other and share that love, then we can change this thing. I've already seen changes with the small amount of time I've been around doing this. So I can only imagine that when Tone when Tone turns 30, the type of city we're gonna have and what he's gonna accomplish, and there's so many young people he's gonna put on because he know what it's like for an older person to take interest in you and show love to you and pour into you and show that love. He got one of the best teachers ever. He got Uncle T and he got Stokey and he got me. So we here, we showing love, and that's what it is.
Hey James, can I say something real quick?
Absolutely. I got something that I want to ask everybody too, because somebody just put something in the
I
comments.
only 45 seconds, but this is directed towards you, and I want to be honest and transparent, so you know where I'm coming from. If not for Dr. Bunley, if not for Tone, if not for D. Watkins, and more than like the young lady, I don't do this because my intentions are pure, and I want you to know that I don't take these opportunities for granted because I'm living in the city that's bleeding, that I love. And there's a lot of hypocritical people who want the spotlight and the platform, who won't do the work. It's not that they can't, because they can't do that either, but they won't do it if they could. But they can't do the work and they don't do the work. And I have a problem with fraternizing with people like that. So I want you to understand that what you're doing today for me and to me is providing the necessary hope that we still can win. Because there are a lot of people, as I said before, who want to fraternize and use these platforms to say the right things and do nothing about it. And I no longer want to be a part of that. But I'm happy today that I'm on this platform with some real individuals who I know heart in the right place. And as long as you continue to assemble men and women like this, there is so much hope and prosperity in Baltimore. Like Doc said, it will overflow, And I can give you metaphors and parables all day long, but the one I'm leaving you with is always focus on people's intentions. And everybody on this phone, intentions are good. That's why I don't have a problem being a part of it, man. So as long as you continue to do this and you have the reputation to assemble some good men and women like this, there's hope. I wish other people followed your lead because honestly, if what you're doing today was done on a bigger platform, there's no doubt in my mind you will see a decrease in everything in Baltimore's having a problem with. I stand on that. I put my money where my mouth is. I never got a grant, never got a syllable for somebody in the city. And I'm okay with that because I never needed it. But there are those who did need it who didn't get it, and I got a problem with that. But today is, to me, an opportunity, man, to be hopeful, man, because you put people on the phone today to remind me that we got work to do and we can do it with these people on the phone. I just wanted to say that. So I'm done.
So yeah, thank you for sharing that, man. Because one of the questions that somebody asked.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, right. Go ahead.
Like Stokey was just saying, stuff like this give me hope. Let me know that like people still care, like people still want something to be different, like people want to change. And D. Watkins, you probably don't even remember me from our first interaction. I opened up for one of your book signings.
I met you twice. I met you twice. I met you at another house too.
Yeah. Met you twice. And the conversation we had the first time made me keep writing. You told me, I hear your potential, keep going, you got it, don't give up on your dreams. And ever since that conversation, I haven't given up on it. So I also want to thank you.
So for those of you who don't know, I'm a very spiritual person. I try to be. You talk about intentions. I try to be where the spirit is. I don't, as you talked about, Smokey. I don't like to be where people's intentions aren't spirit, like where they aren't divine, where they aren't being led by and created in themselves. And so I just appreciate everybody for being on here. And the question was asked. Would love to hear your top 3 actions to help young men to succeed. So what I would do is just in the nature of time. I know we're literally 3 seconds away from being an hour in, but in the interest of time, if you could give me 1 to 2 things that you feel like people could do to help young Black men succeed, I would greatly appreciate it. So 1 to 2, understanding that we overtime now by about 13, 15 seconds. But I want to get this question in. I feel like this is important. And I feel like people can get a lot from this. And so I'm going to try to stay in that divine lane. So Doc, I'm going to start off with you. What are what's at least 1 or 2 top things that people can do to help young Black boys succeed? If we could keep it brief. You on mute.
Build a relationship with young people that you know that need you, and rock with them until they get there. Doesn't have to be many, just roll with a few. And everybody do that. Everybody do what these men talked about today. Just take 2 guys and ride them out. Ride them out.
So,
I always got 3. It's easy: trust, respect, and relationship. And listen to them more. If you do those 3 things, counter with the 4th one, you got a successful antidote.
Ra. You on mute, bro.
You still?
There you go.
Yeah. All right. So I have 2. Give a young brother a hug every time you can get a chance, because we definitely need them. And stress therapy as much as possible, because I feel like a lot of situations that took place, the outcome could have went completely different if that boy had somebody to talk to, or had somebody to hug him, or had somebody to love him, because they might not get that at home.
Tone. One or two actions that we can do to help young Black men succeed.
I agree with everybody what they just said on the call. Like, you know, one, you gotta trust them, and then keep it real with them. You know, trust them and keep it real with them. You know, and then once you give them the game, then they'll show you something different. Once you can tell them something different, so you know, everybody on this call living examples of that.
D.
Yeah, the only difference between really, really successful people and people that don't really have a lot is connection. So if you can be a connection to somebody. It's a big difference between saying I have this dream, I really want to make something happen, and saying I have this dream and I know the person who can put me in the positions to do all of the right things, the knowledge, the connection, the infrastructure to make that dream a reality. So if you own that company, if you own that business, if you got the idea, if you had that some success, share that success with another person and then encourage them to do the same.
I 100% agree. The only thing that I would add is, yield your platform. And what I mean by that is, Dee said you got the connections, right? And you can connect them. But sometimes it's important for us to let that young man stand up. When we know he's ready, when we know he got it, he know we behind him or beside him or in front of him or whatever it is, but to give him that platform. And the reason why I say that is because I'm so grateful for every good thing that's been said about me on this call, but I know that if it wasn't for somebody else sharing their platform, there's no way that I could be here. There's no way that Tone could be here, or Stokey could be here, or Doc could be here, or Ra or D. Somebody gave us a place to stand. They moved out of the way. They gave us a place to stand, and they encouraged us to be ourselves, our best, our brightest self in that space. And I think that that's one of the number one things that you can do to help a young Black male succeed, to let him know not just that he's great, but sometimes he's great enough to stand where you stood so he can walk further than you did.
That's right.
I want to thank everybody. I want to thank Dr. Bunley. I want to thank Ra. I want to thank Dee. I want to thank Tone. I want to thank Stokey. I want to thank Joni. I want to thank Ricardo, our co-leads. I want to thank each and every member of the BYMOC Success Work Group for the Baltimore Children's Cabinet. Again, I want to acknowledge Director of the Mayor's Office of Children and Family Success, Ms. Tisha Edwards, for doing such an amazing job of putting the Children's Cabinet together. I want to also give a shout out to Leah Ferguson, who leads that, Eddie Hawkins, who is, my number 2 guy who helps me with everything that I need to do. And just want to thank you for tuning in. We really, really appreciate the fact that you guys find that this is fruitful. We appreciate that you find hope in this. And every opportunity that we can come before you and do this, we will. We want you guys to have a good night, and God bless. Peace.